Hello, this is Matthew Robert Payne, and this is a video called Visiting Leah in Heaven. Leah was one of the wives of Jacob. You'll remember Jacob was due to marry Rachel, and his father-in-law switched Leah into deceptively marrying him. He woke up in the morning and realized it was Leah, then had to work for another 7 years to earn Rachel's hand in marriage. So Leah has got a sad story, but she recovered well. In Great Cloud of Witnesses Speak, she gives a good testimony of her life, and I come to love her very much because of her testimony. Her house, we're visiting her house. I'm attracted to the outside of her house. Outside the northern part of her house is a swimming pool, and in the swimming pool plastic things to swim on, and there's children playing in a swimming pool. She's standing outside the swimming pool and splashing some of the children, and they're splashing her back. She's in some swimmers, and it's a delightful scene. It looks like she spends time with children. The children are from ages 5 to 10, and they're from every race imaginable. There's Chinese, there's Japanese, there's Africans, there's Negroes. There's every sort of child there represented. There's about 20 children in the pool. There's some of them are sunbaking aside the pool. I'm not sure if heaven has got a sun, but they're on what do you call outside chairs that you find near swimming pools. So there's a few of them that have been swimming that are in the sun. There's besides the pool close to the house, there's a dining table that can seat about 40 people, and looks like Leah hosts dinner parties, and inside the house is a kitchen that serves that table, and if you go through the doors of the house, on the right-hand side is a commercial kitchen that you'd find in a restaurant, and it's got sliding doors, and it comes out to the dining table. So that's all I can see with the house at the moment. The next question is, what are you doing in heaven? And I got some of these answers before I interviewed Leah, and So she says, I look after children in heaven. I tutor them and look after them and care for them and teach them in school. As you are aware, there's many abortions that end up in heaven. All the abortions on earth end up in heaven, and there's millions of children, and they need teachers and they need carers to look after them. And that's my job in heaven. I love children. I've got a great love for children. Matthew's mother teaches children the Bible, and I've worked with June and worked in classrooms with June, teaching children. Children are a delight, and in heaven there's no sin, so the children never play up and always well behaved. And as you know, I had quite a number of children on earth, and I had children to Jacob, and my maid had children to Jacob, and so our children, mine and Rachel's children, made the children that made up the 12 tribes of Israel, and they were important children in the scheme of things. So I love children, and I find much enjoyment raising these children. Children grow up in heaven and become adults. There's reports from Kat Kerr, who says children stay in a nursery until their parents arrive. Matthew has only known children that have grown up. He hasn't seen children in a nursery like that. So there's two sorts of children in heaven: children that stay in a nursery until their parents arrive from earth, and there's children that grow up that their parents would probably be happy that they've grown up. But I look after children, and I don't get to name them. Jesus personally names all the children in heaven, and oftentimes the children in heaven get a name that their parents on earth would have selected for them. Jesus intuitively knows names that would be suited. I enjoy looking after the children, and I teach them primary grade schooling, and I look after them besides school. I have this pool at home where 20 children at a time can come and play and spend time with me. I'm not all about schoolwork. I care for them in many ways, and children are the future of heaven, and they grow up to be responsible adults in heaven, and they all grow up with different gifts and different roles. The beauty about heaven is a lot more informed than earth. The children know at a very young age what they're going to grow up and do as an adult. And so we work that into their schooling, their gifts and their talents. Many children play instruments, and there's a very creative bent in heaven. Creativity is welcomed. They've all got the equivalent to the internet, and they've all got iPads that they do work on, and they really enjoy their schooling. I really enjoy being a teacher. So it's so much fun. Princess Diana looks after children too in heaven and trains them up. And so there's quite a number of us looking after children. You can imagine that there's millions of children aborted each year. There's a lot of work for each of us to do. And the 20 children that were in my pool when you arrived are all in different classes in the school. And I don't just look after the children that are in my school grades, I look after other children too. So my whole life is consumed with children, and I really enjoy looking after them. What do you like about heaven? I enjoy looking after the children, like I've said. I enjoy going to classes to learn about the Bible. You can get a university degree in heaven. You can get a Bible college degree, and I go to classes to learn the Bible and to learn advanced theology. The Bible is very deep and meaningful, and it has more of an application than just meaning for people on earth. It's exhaustive and has a lot of meaning and fulfillment in heaven. I enjoy hearing the actual writers of the Bible explain their books. So in the books that Paul wrote, it's interesting to go to lectures where he's lecturing on the books that Moses wrote. It's good to go to lectures where Moses is lecturing, and the books that King David wrote. It's good to go to lectures where he's lecturing. You can imagine the Bible's a big book, and it's very comprehensive, and you could spend your whole life studying the Bible, and I do, and I really enjoy that part of my life in heaven. I'm spiritually hungry. I'm hungry after information, and I disseminate the information and put it into my lessons for the children. I dumb down what I'm learning and write it into curriculum for children. So I not only teach the children, but I write curriculum and teach children, and teachers after me teach the children some of the things that I've put in a curriculum for them. I enjoy the fellowship in heaven. I enjoy meeting people in heaven. Everyone in heaven knows you. You can take one glance at a person in heaven and know their past and know things about them. Everyone has got a prophetic spiritual gift in heaven and have got discernment, and they can tell things about you by looking at you. They learn a lot more about you over a meal, and I often have the children at my dining table with the 40 place settings, but I often have adults and have Bible classes meeting over the table, and I enjoy talking to people face to face over a dinner table, and I have a lot of functions on that dinner table at home, and it's nice weather in heaven. It's not freezing cold, and it's not overly hot. There's just a nice temperature in heaven, and I really enjoy it. I really enjoy meeting people and spending time with people and getting to know people. I've got some close friends. Rachel, my sister, is close to me. I'm close to Jacob. I've got an intimate, really close relationship with Jacob, and we're not married, but we're very close, and I'm close to my sister Rachel in heaven, and close to Rachel's friends in heaven, and I've got my own inner circle of friends, and we often meet over that table, Rachel's friends and my friends, and we have fellowship together. There's nothing like a couple of roasts being served. We can get professional caterers into my kitchen, and they can cook a couple of different roasts, roast pork, roast lamb, and we can have a banquet on the table and enjoy food. Kat Kerr will tell you that the meats in heaven are made of light, and Matthew believes that, but it is roast pork. It's created not from an animal, but created out of light, and it's the same taste as what you'd find on earth, but it's more, it's fresher and more succulent. So what is your message for us is the next question. I really want to share with you that Jesus is part of my life, and he comes around the children and is a great teacher, and it's great to sit at his feet and hear him teaching your children in the classroom. And Jesus is just so full of wisdom, and he wasn't alive when I was alive on earth. We only knew of God, and Jesus is a fascinating teacher, and it often makes me wonder why people on earth don't pay attention to what he taught. Jesus had 54 parables, and they're all stories that he told with deeper meanings, and it's sad to know that very few Christians on earth are aware of the meanings of those parables. Jesus is a mystery, and even what he teaches the children is profound, and his words are life and truth, and it amazes me that people on earth don't pay heed to his teachings. Matthew's written a book called The Narrow Way, The Parables of Jesus Made Simple. And I fully suggest you get that book and read for yourself the meanings of the parables. Matthew also has a book called The Narrow Way, The 50 Commands of Jesus, a devotional. And in that way, he goes through 50 commands, the 50 things Jesus told us to do as Christians on earth. If you're a Christian on earth, and very few Christians are even aware that Jesus had 50 commands, let alone obey them. And so what I suggest to you as a listener is I suggest you get those two books and study the teachings of Jesus, the parables of Jesus, and start to implement the meanings of those parables in your life. The sheep and the goats is a parable about being kind to your neighbor and feeding those who are hungry, and giving a drink to those who are thirsty, and treating homeless people with respect, and visiting people in hospital, and visiting people in prison. And it's a wholesome parable, and a sobering parable, because if you're not doing those things, you may not end up in heaven. And all of Jesus' parables are packed with wisdom, and you not having a knowledge of them makes you a weak Christian, makes you an ineffective Christian. So what my message to people is that they should understand what the teachings of Jesus are, and put them into practice. Jesus' 50 commands aren't suggestions. They aren't just merely suggestions that Jesus made. They're a way of life. Turn the other cheek and give to everybody who asks of you. Very few people give to everyone who asks of them. They ignore the plights of the homeless, and they ignore people begging on the street. And people ask them for money and they deny them. And Jesus said, give to everyone who asks of you. And that even meant that you were to give to people that wanted to loan money off you. It's time that people who take the name of Christ in the word Christian start to behave like Jesus. 1 John 2:6 says, he that says he abides in him must walk just as he walked. And that's the Apostle John, the closest disciple to Jesus, saying, if you say that you're close to Jesus, you should be acting like Jesus. The Apostle Paul says, imitate me as I imitate the Lord. So the Apostle Paul, the most accomplished apostle in the New Testament, said you should be imitating him as he imitates Christ. So the Apostle Paul was basically saying you need to imitate Christ. And the Apostle Paul lived such an exemplary life that he told people to imitate him. And that's not the words of a sinner. So I encourage you to get the commands of Jesus, download the 50 commands of Jesus. It can be found in an article on the internet, and download them and start to do them, or get the book, The Narrow Way, the 50 Commands of Jesus, and start to study them, and one by one start to put them into practice, because Jesus wants to come for a bride without wrinkle or spot, and he wants to come for a clean and holy bride. And you become holy by practicing what Jesus taught. And I know that you want to become the best Christian you can be. I'm aware that you want to succeed in your Christian faith. And who better to emulate than the teacher himself? Jesus is respected as a great teacher, but what's the use of being a great teacher if people aren't going to do what you say? So my message to you is to believe in the Lord Jesus and practice what the Lord Jesus taught, and make an effort to understand what he taught. Read those books and put into practice what he suggested, because they weren't mere suggestions, a way of life that he wants you to practice. Well, I've really enjoyed speaking to you today. I invite you to come and have a swim in my pool, and invite you around for dinner when you come to my place. Perhaps those of you who can see visions and visit heaven can come around for a banquet one day. I enjoyed speaking to you. God bless.